Okay, good morning all. We will start with our lecture. So last time we have started with the root locus method, which is very important. I will repeat once again what we were discussed and we will continue with the rules. So last time what we saw that when we consider a system and when we want to check whether system is stable or not, then just check. Okay, then what we have to do, if we consider a system, once again I am repeating, when we consider a system, we have to decide whether system is stable or not. At that time, we have to find out absolute or relative and relative stability. Absolute stability tells us whether system is stable or not. That's all. It doesn't predict about the system. In future, what will happen to the system, it will not be predicted. Or what will be the trend of the system, that will also not be predicted. For that, we have to use another method to determine absolute and relative stability and to design a system by using a root locus method. In that root locus method, K plays an important role, which is nothing but gain. We have seen in the Route's criteria to find out the values of K when system is stable. That K is nothing but gain, and that K varies in between some limit, and that limit we have to find out. Root locus techniques gives an idea about absolute and relative stability of a control system. We have to adjust the gain according to the desired location of closed loop poles. Poles, what is mean by pole and what is mean by zero, that also we know. For that, we have to see some important rules of root locus. So we are started with rule number 1 last time. What rule number 1 says? We have to determine all the open loop poles and zeros of transfer function and mark those poles and zeros on root locus plot, which is nothing but S plot. So here we have seen this system. We have to denote pole by symbol X and 0 like a 0 only. Vertical, here this is imaginary axis. This axis is imaginary axis. This is. And this is real axis. Depending upon the position of poles and zeros, we have to find out their actual condition. That is the simple first rule. Then second rule which we have seen is from where the root locus starts. Remember, root locus always starts from pole and ends to the zero. Ends means it get terminate. It get terminate at 0. Open loop zeros, if they are not present, then it moves to infinity. Or if pole is not there, then it start with k is equal to 0. That we can see later. Then rule number 3, which we saw last time. Number of branches and how many are they? There are two conditions. First condition is if poles are greater than 0, then number of branches equal to number of poles. And in other case, if suppose opposite condition is there, means zeros are greater than pole, then number of branches will be equal to number of zeros. So here we saw one example that zeros are 5, poles are 2, then number of branches will be 5, and out of that 2 branches will start from 2 poles. Here 2 branches are starting from 2 poles, and other 3 branches are starting from infinity and ending at 0. Similarly, if we consider poles are greater than 0, that is poles are 5, zeros are 3, again p is greater than z, so that 5 branches will be there. All 5 branches are starting from poles, and 3 branches are ending in 3 0, and 2 branches will go to infinity. I understand that it is difficult to imagine. Just remember these rules. When we see actual problem, at that time you will understand things more correctly. So we will move for the next rules with next page. Okay. So what is the next rule? Rule number 4. It is important and required some little bit attention to understand this rule. So what it says, determination of direction of branch on real axis. We have to find out the direction. A branch of root locus lies on real axis. Real axis we know. On that real axis, branch of root locus lies. The total number of open loop poles and zeros, the right side of the point is odd. Means what? Let's see. Suppose we will have one example. So this is JW axis. This is our real axis. For example, there are two poles. Here is one pole. Here is another pole. And here is 0. Here is 1, 0. Suppose we have this condition. We have found poles and zeros like this manner. We have just mounted those on the axis. Then what we have decided that from where to where pole branches are moving, we know that here in this condition 2 poles and 1 0 is there. Means how many branches will be there? How many branches will be there? In this example, 2 branches will be there. Okay, 2 branches will be there. And from where 2 branches will start? Poles. 2 poles. Okay, here suppose S is equal to -2, S is equal to 2, and S is equal to -1. These are the values. Okay, these are the values of the point. Then what we have to know, what is the direction? We know that from this point, pole point, and from this pole point, branch will start. And it will end, one branch will end at 0, one branch will go to infinity. Okay, 2 branches are there, one branch will go to 0, one branch go to infinity. So we know, we want to know from where either branch which is starting from this will go here or will go here. Similarly, from here branch will go here or go here. That we have to find by using this rule. So how to find out? Let's see. We will apply the rule so that Once again, I am repeating what I said. So what we have to do, we have to know from this pole number 1, this is pole 1, this is pole 2, this is 0, 1. We know that branches will be 2. Two branches will start from two poles. One branch will end at 0. One branch will go to infinity. Now there are number of possibilities. Means like this. A branch will start from here and it will go to 0. Or it will start from here, it will go to 0. Or branch will go here to infinity. Or branch will go here to infinity. So to know where exactly the branch will move, we have to apply this rule. So what we have to do in this case, we have to take 2 points on the left side and on the right side of a pole. Means if we want to know the direction about this pole number 2 now. What we have to do, we have to mark 2 points. 1 point here on the right side, 1 point here on the left side. So it is, let's say, P1 point. It is, let's say, P2 point. Now imagine you are at point 1 here. You are present over here. Look towards the right side. Look towards the right side. And how many poles and zeros are there? How many poles and zeros are there? 11. No. All together we have to tell. What we have to do? We have to sit at P1, look towards the right, and count the poles and zeros. How many poles and zeros are there? 1 pole and 1 0. Means altogether number comes poles and zeros on the right side of P1. It is 1 pole and 1 0. Okay, altogether it comes 2. Number comes 2. Now this 2 is important. Now this 2 is odd or even? This 2 is odd or even? Obviously it is even. When it is even, then at that direction the what we can say, uh, it will not move. On other side, if we see point P2, now you are here. See the right side again. See the right side of that point. How many poles and 0? Now point P2. On the right side of point P2, how many poles and zeros are there? This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. Means there are 3 poles and zeros. Now this 3 is odd. So the direction from this pole P2 is here. Branch will move here. Means the branch which will start from pole P2 will move to infinity in this case. Now same rule we have to apply on other side. Now you are going to tell me. I will take again 2 points. Let's say it is P4, it is P5. So on the right side of P4, how many poles and zeros are there? On the right side of P4, how many poles and zeros are there? 0. Here 0. 0 means it is even. 0 means even. Now on the right side of P5, always remember we are looking towards right side. On the right side of P5, how many poles and zeros are there? 1. Means the direction of the branch which is starting from pole 1 is in the direction of P5. Means it will start from here, it will start from here, and it will end at this 0. So like this, we are drawing the branches. We know the branches, how they are moving. Is it understood now? Direction moving towards the point P5. Direction moving towards the point P2. We have to mark 2 points on the left side, on the right side of the pole, and we have to find out where the direction will be. Is it clear? Rule number 4, which is important one. Understood this? Okay. Now let's move for the next point where it explains the meeting of two branch. Rule number 5. What? Meeting the two branches. There is possibility that two branches come and meet together. Okay, and it is called as a break away point. It is called as a break away point. When two branches move towards each other on real axis and coincides the point, and that point is called as a breakaway point. Means, for example, we will show. Here is the real axis, here is the imaginary axis. Then suppose here is one pole, here is another pole. Now, in this example, there are only two poles. Here is pole 1, here is pole 2. Now apply our rule, which we have seen in the 4th condition. Branches will start from pole 1 as well as branch will start from pole 2. So tell me the direction. I will apply the rule here. Here is P1, here is P2. So for this pole 1, what will be the direction? In the direction of P2 or in the direction of P1?
P1.
Correct. Means the direction will be in the direction of P1. I will remove that. So from here, branch will come here. Same thing we will apply for pole 2. Here is one condition, here is one condition. Let's say here I will give P1, here I will give P2. Now apply the condition. Imagine you are at the P1. On the right side, how many poles are there? 1. If we are at P2, on the right side, how many poles are there or zeros are there? 0. So that direction will be in the direction of P1. Means again, what will happen? Direction will be like this. Means from here on the considering P1, branch will come to the right side. For pole P2, branch will come to the left side. They will meet somewhere. And that meeting point is nothing but breakaway point. Break away. From that point, branches will leave the real axis and they will move to the imaginary form. So for that, pole 1 and pole 2 are adjacent to each other, then branch of root locus are going to meet each other. For that, we have to use one formula to know where is the breakaway point. That can be found by formula d of g of s upon ds is equal to 0. We have to differentiate that g of s with respect to s. Then that is by differentiating open loop transfer function with respect to s, and we will get, by equating to 0, we will get some value of s, and that value, approximate value, we will get, and we have to plot it on the graph. When we solve the problem, you will understand how to find out this point actually by taking the differentiation of open loop transformation. That is rule number 5. Understood this condition? Then rule number 6. Rule number 6 is the higher value of gain k. Name is like that, higher values of gain k. As value of k increases, the root locus moves away from the poles and zeros. For higher values of k, the root locus branches are approximated by asymptotes. Asymptotes means what? That I will show. To find out asymptotes, we have to find out intersection point of asymptotes with the real axis. Means here suppose root locus graph. In this root locus graph, suppose this is a branch, then we have to find out a structure like this, which curve is called as a asymptotes. Asymptotes cut somewhere to the real axis. We have to first find out whether asymptotes are there or not. Asymptotes are the part of root locus. We have to find out initially, means there is sub rule, rule number 1 inside that, where we have to find out determination of intersection point of asymptotes ASYMPTOTES with real axis. How to find out that? We will see. Initially, we have to find out number of asymptotes. How many asymptotes are there? It is nothing but, asymptote is nothing but line going just away from the curve. This is actual curve and this is asymptote. Number of asymptotes can be found by using a formula, number of poles minus number of zeros. And to find out the direction or determination of intersection point, we are using x as a intersection point, which is equal to summation of pole minus summation of 0 divided by p minus z. Now what is mean by this? Summation of pole and summation of zeros, and p means what? Z means what? P is nothing but number of poles, Z is nothing but number of zeros. Summation of P means summation of all the poles, and summation of Z means summation of all the zeros, and X is the intersection point. So if we found that X, then we will get the values. For example, we will see some simple example so that idea will be little bit clear. So what it is said, suppose in one example I found poles as 0, -1, -2. These are poles, and zeros like the 1 and 4. Now tell me, summation of P, what will be the summation of P? Summation of P will be what? Summation of P means what? Poles of a control loop system are 0, -1, -2. Zeros are -1, -4. So I just want to know what is mean by summation P and what is mean by summation Z. What is mean by P? What is mean by Z? in above formula, in this formula. Summation P means what?
Summation of all the poles.
Summation of the roots.
Summation of poles means with
Poles.
respect to their sign, means 0, minus 1,
1 minus 2.
means it will come minus 3. And similarly, summation of zeros,
Pi.
it is nothing but 1 plus 4, it is equal to 5. Number of poles, how many poles are there?
3.
3.
And number of zeros?
2.
2.
So what will be the value of x? Let's see. X will be equal to what? Summation of P minus 3 minus 5 divided by P minus Z means what will be there?
3 minus 2.
3 minus 2. So it will be minus 8 divided by 1. So x will be equal to minus 8. Means on that plane here, wherever there is minus 8, at that point this asymptote will cut the axis. Then it is not enough to find out only cutting point. We need to find out, it is called as a angle of asymptote. We got the intersection point, but at what angle it is moving, this angle we want to know. Asymptotes are drawn at point x, as we said. Making angle with real axis, these angles are given by, there is another formula that you should understand, 2m plus 1 into 180 degree, means that 180 degrees other side, p minus z. So with here, you can say m we have to take as 0, 1, 2 up to p minus z. Here, what will be there? How many poles? 3 poles are there. 2 zeros are there, means 3 minus 2, it will be 1. So m will be only 1. Okay, like that we have to find out the angle. Here you will get angle. Just remember this letter we will apply in the problem. Then the rule number 6 was about asymptotes. And remember, it is not necessary that every problem will have these asymptotes. We have to check whether asymptotes are present or not. Then moving towards the rule number 7. So rule number 7 tells us the points at which branches will interact with the imaginary axis. Means interaction of branches with imaginary axis. Means what? Suppose here is the condition. Here are the poles. As I said, these come here to meet each other, and from this they will move from away from the real axis. But they will move and they will intersect somewhere to imaginary axis. Whether they will intersect or will not be there, and if they are intersecting, at what point they are intersecting, that we have to determine. So how to determine that, we will see. Here you should know that we have to put S is equal to, we have some characteristic equation. Okay, like s raised to 4 plus s raised to 3, something like that. It will have s. We have to put s is equal to j omega. In the equation, put s is equal to j omega. Then we will get a part of interaction. Then putting the s is equal to j omega, what we have to do? We have to apply the route stability criteria. Next step, first put this, then second, we have to use the route stability criteria, which we have seen last time. Put s is equal to j omega, then apply routes stability criteria. How to do? We will see with example. Let's see one example. Is it visible? Screen is visible or not?
Yes,
I'm not
sir.
getting-
Yes,
It is
sir.
visible. Okay, because electricity just went. Okay, now then let's see one example. With example, we will see g of s, h of s is equal to k upon s into s plus 2 upon s plus 3. It is example. So what we have to do? We have to find out its characteristic equation, which is nothing but 1 plus g of s h of s is equal to 0. So what will be the answer? 1 plus k upon s plus 2 s plus 3, which is equal to 0. So what you will get by making the cross multiplication? S into s plus 2 s plus 3 plus k is equal to 0. Then again making the simplification, s into bracket s square plus 3 plus 2 5s plus 3 multiplied by 2 6 plus k is equal to 0. Again multiplying with s inside the bracket, s cube plus 5s square plus 6s plus k is equal to 0. So this is our characteristic equation. Then our step says put wherever there is s, put j omega. So what will be there? J omega cube plus 5 j omega square plus 6 j omega plus k is equal to 0. Now you know j square means what and other things are what, that you know. So j square means what? J square means what? What we call to j square? J is the imaginary part, and if we make it square, then what it comes?
-1.
Minus.
-1.
So wherever j square is there, means here 5j square omega square is there, no? So what it will come here also? What will happen? J cube omega will be equal to what? J cube omega, what? How we can write j cube omega? What will be the j cube omega? How we can write j cube omega? First. Not
-1 into root of -1.
Root, it is not necessary to consider the root. It's simple. Minus j omega cube. Either cube also, sorry, I forget. Similarly, j square omega square will be what? Minus
j omega square.
minus
omega square.
j omega square.
Minus omega square.
Correct. So,
Sir, minus omega square
minus,
है ना?
sorry, minus j will not be there. Minus omega square.
Minus omega square.
Okay. Okay. Like that, what you will get after making the simplification, first will be j omega cube minus 5 omega square plus 6 j omega plus k is equal to 0. Now in this case, we have to club together imaginary parts and real parts. Means here this contains j omega, this contains j omega. These two are the imaginary parts. Means k minus 5 omega square is the real part, and plus j I will take common, 6 omega minus omega cube is the imaginary part. This is imaginary part, real part. This is imaginary part and this is real part. Now what we have to do? We have to make it separate. Making separate means what? K minus 5 omega square is equal to 0. We have to take. So what we will get? 5 omega square is equal to k. Then for omega is equal to 0, k is equal to 0. Then for omega is equal to, means we have to find out just values of omega. So how we can do like that? Here omega is equal to 0 and let it be here. Then second, what is there? 6 omega minus omega cube is equal to 0. Second equation. So I will take omega common. So 6 minus omega square is equal to 0. So omega is equal to 0, or 6 minus omega square is equal to 0. Means omega is equal to what? Plus minus under root 6. Like that, we will get some values of omega. So with this, with respect to this, what we have to do? We have to find out some values of k. How to find out the values of k? Let's see once again. We have here in this example, omega is equal to 0 and omega is equal to plus minus 6. So by using that condition, we have to put the values in the equation. Means if we consider the equation, I will write once again, minus j omega cube plus, sorry, this is not, minus j omega cube minus omega square plus 2j omega plus k. It is, sorry. So what we have to do here, then we will get omega is equal to 0, omega is equal to plus minus root 6. Similarly, here, what will be the value of k? If suppose omega is plus minus root 6, what will be the value of k? Just calculate. Omega is equal to plus minus root 6. By putting here in this equation, we will get k is equal to 5 into plus minus root 6 bracket square, which will be equal to 5 multiplied by 6. So k will be equal to 30. So these values we have to find out. Here our aim is to find out the value of k. This is one method. This is one method by using where we are putting the value of s is equal to j omega. There is another method, as I said. Another method is what? We have to use the Raoult's criteria. So what is our equation, original equation? I think original equation you know already, that is s cube. Here we have seen somewhere, I don't remember. This s cube plus 5s square plus 6s plus k. S cube plus 5s square plus 6s plus k is equal to 0. This is second method. First method we have used by putting j omega. Second method we are applying the Raoult's criteria. Now tell me the Raoult's criteria. S cube, s square, s raised to 1, s raised to 0. What is the first row?
1, 6.
1 and 6. What is second? 5 and k.
K.
So what we are doing? Multiplying this by this minus multiplying this by this. Means it will come 5 multiplied by 6, 30 minus k upon 5. Here it will be 0. Then s raised to 0, this multiplied by this multiplied by this. So what you will get? 30 minus k upon 5 multiplied by k minus 0 upon 30 minus k upon 5. Just second. We get, if we simplify this, s cube, s square, s raised to 1, s raised to 0, 1, 5, 30 minus k upon 5 upon, and 6k 0, 0. Now how we are finding the value of k? Here, what we are doing, we have done previously also. Here is the, just remember another method. What we have to do? We have to do 30 minus k upon 5. We have to equate to 0. This we have to equate to 0. So k will be equal to what? K will be equal to 30. Okay, same which we have found here. And we have to write the, we have to find out the values of s. Okay, to find out the values of s, what we have to do? We have to write the above equation. Means if k is present here, we have to write the above equation. Above equation means what? Equation like this: 5s square plus ks is equal to 0. And we have to solve this. Solve this means we are writing 5s square plus it will come 5s plus k is equal to 0, and it will equal to 5s plus k is equal to 30, which we have found already, is equal to 0. Means 5s is equal to minus 30. Then something wrong happened, I think. Here s will not be there. Sorry, I am wrong. 5s square plus s raised to 0 will be there. हे जरा नीट लक्षात घ्या. ही इक्वेशन बघा, इथे s स्क्वेअर आहे, इथे s raised to 0 आहे. So 5s square into k s raised to 0. So s square will be remaining like this only. 5a square is equal to minus 30. So a square is equal to minus 30 upon 5. So it will be equal to a square is equal to minus 6 means s is equal to plus minus under root 6j. So same thing which we have found here also. Omega is equal to plus minus 6. Now how to use these things in our problem actual, that we will understand when we see the problem. So just understand, you can observe the depth of the problem. In the problem itself, we are having Raoult's criteria. So problem is really big one as compared to the other problems in our total topic. So still we are having some rules left. Then rule number 8. What rule number 8 says? When poles are complex, if suppose now, up till now what we have seen, poles are lying on the real axis. Like this only we have seen. Now suppose poles are complex. Complex means they are having imaginary part also. To determine the angle of departure and angle of arrival, here we have to find out angle of departure and angle of arrival. Means suppose poles are somewhere here, then poles are starting from here and some zeros are here. From pole, branch will start and it will end to the zero in the imaginary plane itself, and we have to determine what is the angle of departure, and at the whole, that is 0, the angle of arrival. That angle of departure and angle of arrival we have to find out. There are simple formulas. Phi is known as angle of departure, DEPT we are writing, which is equal to 180 degree minus 5 phi p minus phi z. Now what is mean by phi p? What is mean by phi z? Let's see. Phi p is nothing but phi p1 plus phi p2 up to phi pn. Sum of all angles subtended by all other poles, that I will show by diagram so that you will understand. Phi z means phi z1 plus phi z2 and up to phi zn. It is nothing but sum of all angles subtended by all the zeros. And angle of arrival, which is nothing but phi arrival, which is equal to 180 plus phi p minus phi z. It is the only change in the formula. Let's see what is the meaning of this. With the diagram, you will understand. So here is the S plane. In this S plane, suppose these are the points, that is -1, 1, 2, 3. -1, -2, -3, -4. It is normal graph. On this, what I have found that there is pole P1 here, which is imaginary one, P1. Here it is P2. Here is 0, 1, and here is another P3. Now we have to draw hello. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to just connect these are, this is one, then connect this to this, connect this to this. Now what we have to do, we have to find out this angle. This angle is nothing but 5p3. This angle is known as phi z1 because this is z1. This is z1. This is p3. So that 5p3. Then this is phi p2. If we suppose want to find out phi about this p1, then it will be nothing but phi p1 will be equal to, as per our consideration, 180 degree minus phi p means summation of all p's, means phi p3 plus phi p2. This is phi p2, this is phi p3, and summation of phi z will be equal to only phi z1 because there is only one zero is present. So like that we have to find out the angle of departure and angle of arrival. Then we will see the last rule, rule number 9. To determine the values of k on the root locus. Values of k determination is very important. Then k is equal to, remember this formula correctly, it is nothing but product of length of vectors drawn from the poles of transfer function to point P divided by product of length of vector drawn from the zeros of open loop transfer function to point P. It is very difficult to understand this definition of K unless and until we will not say the see the problem, you will not understand last rule. Okay, so I will not discuss much about our last rule. When we see the problem, at that time we will understand this concept. So tomorrow when we will start our lecture, we will see the problem g of s h of s is equal to k upon s into s plus 2 s plus 3. We will solve this problem by applying all the rules that we have seen now, and we will try to find out the root locus of this. And at that time, when we see all the rules one by one, you will understand the concepts. Same way, what we have seen previously, I just want to know about the doubts of this. I don't think all things will be cleared because only theoretical part I have taken. I have explained the concepts only. Yeah, I don't think all the parts are much clear. So with this, what I will say, I will like to conclude the session. I know that I have not uploaded the videos of last week. Definitely I will upload when we complete the tomorrow's lectures, I will keep again that things pending, because last week intentionally I have not uploaded. And you don't have to say sorry, dear friends, because it is nothing to say sorry like that. Just be punctual about your study. That's my point. Now today and tomorrow I am little bit busy with some exam work that I have come from Shivaji University, so that today's lecture and last two lectures I will upload tomorrow evening. Okay. What other things you want to discuss, you can ask me. If it is not there, we will conclude this lecture. Is there any doubt, or which point you don't understand, you want to repeat, or what like that? Just let me know. Is it clear? We have seen almost 9 rules. I'm sure that all 9 rules are not clear because it is theoretical one, but I am sure that it will be understood when we see actual problem. Okay. So there is no any doubt. We can close the lecture. Just give some reply.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then thank you very much. We will meet tomorrow. Have a nice
Thank you,
day.
sir.
Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day to you too.